Good evening. This is the final presentation for the course Telecommunication Network Security. Our group will be presenting on the topic of the history of hacking, with its group members consisting of Dayron Sheen, Samuel Kabli, Richard Gonzalez, Juan Carlos Rodriguez, and myself, Mark Tulla. So, to begin, we'll be touching on the topics of different historical hacks that have occurred and that have changed technology into what it is today. These hackers have had different urges throughout history, and they've wanted to reveal flaws of these devices. There's various levels of hackers, and we'll explore the trends in these hacking techniques. So why is it important to look at the history of hacks? Why should we look back and see why these individuals have acted in the way they have and what motives they may have had? Well, when studying the persona of those who have performed major hacks throughout history, it can provide us with an insight into their mind state of the individual, and we can draw conclusions that can help mold new security measures in order to avoid hacks in the future. Along with that, we can generalize this certain character, and we can realize the motive and style in which a hacker may attempt to breach a network. With this in mind, we can create countermeasures in order to secure a network and take into consideration why certain breaches may occur. Finally, with a complete understanding of those intents, we can see why these breaches of security may occur, and we can create a more robust security protocol in order to isolate these various vulnerabilities and keep the network secure. So, when looking into a hacker's personality, we have to think of what motive may be behind this. One of the most common motives is just simple personal satisfaction. Hackers enjoy revealing the flaws of most of these products, and they end up helping and strengthening the system as a whole in the future. Although some hackers have good intents, others have a more malicious and criminal intent. These hackers' intents are to steal information for monetary gain, or they may try and instill fear amongst a large population of people. All in all, looking at these different acts, we can attempt to mold these new styles of security protocol in order to better secure our networks and keep our information safe.
Hello, my name is Juan Carlos Rodriguez, and I'll be talking to you briefly about a few milestones of major hackers attacks in history. Some of you might ask where the term hacker came from, or where it originated from. In April of 1955, university programmers of Massachusetts Institute of Technology created something called HACS, where they modified a computer's operating system, allowing its applications to be completed in a faster time frame, therefore increasing the system's performance. The first ever documented hack was in 1971 by John Draper, aka Captain Crunch. He used a children's toy whistle to hack the phone company. This whistle would use a frequency of 2600 Hz and allow him to make free long-distance phone calls. In around 1975, before starting Apple computers, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak created what were known as blue boxes. These boxes were also created in order to hack the phone companies, being part of the phreaking movement. These devices allowed users to produce tones at the same frequency that the telephone company's operator used, and in return letting them make free phone calls. A year after Congress passed the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which made it a crime to break into computer systems and their networks, in 1987, the first computer virus spread over the internet. This was known as the Brain virus. Brain was a program which corrupted the user's computers by adding a file which read a message from its creator. The creator sent his name and phone number, making the user call him in order to remove this virus. In 1995, Steve Mitnick, a computer hacker, changed the world by inspiring many future computer hackers around the globe. He was arrested for copying software in order to inherit information from corporate computers. He was held without trial for 4 years, and in return sparked a revolution that is still going on today. This revolution is known as Anonymous. This group began hacking websites, both government and private, for political views, also using media to gather followers and supporters. One of Anonymous's physical movements was known as Occupy Wall Street. Hackers play two different roles in today's society, either good white hat hackers or bad black hat hackers. The history of hacking will continue to progress, and only time will tell what is in store. Hackers provide a valuable service because in knowing we are vulnerable, we are better able to protect our sensitive information, such as bank accounts and computer software, from those who wish to have their own chapter in the history of hacking.
Good evening. Now that we have briefly introduced you guys to the history of attacks, it is very important that we demonstrate the different types of attacks that they are here in this world. We have definitely seen an increase of these attacks, therefore we are taking this security class for that reason, to knowledge ourselves and others about the different types of attacks that are out there. Now, in reference to the different types of attacks, as my colleagues have my previous partners have already explained that the earliest attacks have been done in the 1970s. You may ask, how were these hacks or attacks done in the 1970s when there was not that much actual technology that was out? The funny thing is that hacks don't necessarily have to have technology to be done with. Hacks could be done by social engineering, which doesn't take any technology at all, and they can also be done by cyber attacks, which does use a little bit of technology. Throughout the years, social engineering has been used for identity theft and also internet hacks, dealing with inside the actual company and in any time when, let's go into the definition of actual social engineering. It's actually getting people's personal information by asking just clever questions about the person, getting to know what their likes are, their habits, starting to follow them throughout a day, see what kind of car they drive, their interests, and using these characteristics to actually attack their either passwords or personal advice, anything that they have of theirs that they don't want anybody else to have their hands on, basically. So this was done as early as the 1970s and is still going on today, from people actually adding you on Facebook and then actually being able to see what your interests are. From those, they actually can generate a pretty good guess or use brute force to hack into your Facebook and other secure items. The other type of attacks that I want to go into today are the cyber attacks. Cyber attacks are actually much more recent. This is due to the technology that has also risen throughout the world. So from the 1990s to currently, we all have and know of the internet. Since then, passwords, bank accounts, all of the important credentials that people have, even retail department stores, hackers, and cyber attacks have been able to be enabled on these things. Now, this ranges from one of the most bigger attacks, which is done on the Target retail store, which targeted over millions of people and consumers. Can go to bank accounts, and these are all just different types of attacks that are common nowadays. With that being said, it's very important for us to be up to date on the attacks that are out, and also realize a way that there is possibilities of being secure from these attacks. That is, being knowledgeable that hackers are aware by changing our passwords constantly, and being aware of social engineering that is used against us to steal our hacks. I will leave you with this at the different types of attacks.
Hello class, my name is Deron Shaheen. I am an electrical engineer and I will be speaking about the impact of hacking on contemporary society. Hacking can have various effects on a society. We will be concentrating on the individuals within a society and the business sectors of a society. Hacking can be very harmful or it can be very helpful. Obviously, hacking can be harmful if it's for mal-intentioned purposes, such as identity theft, hacking to steal money, to steal account numbers, etc. Or it can be very helpful if it will help a company or an individual show them their weaknesses or what they can become better at when enforcing stronger networks or a stronger server, or maybe even antiviruses for an individual himself. So individuals, to be more specific, are affected by hackers in a plethora of ways. The main reason why someone can be targeted by a hacker is basically for identity theft. That's the most common. Through identity theft, someone can retrieve credit card information, financial information, and overall be able to impersonate the individual. They're able to do this by using the individual's social security number or other type of personal information, such as a mother's maiden name, place of birth, date of birth, and other personal information that only one, the actual individual would know. Similarly, they can apply for loans for houses, cars, credit cards, etc. under this person's name, and maybe not pay it off or anything of that sort, and then the person that will be affected is the individual whose identity got stolen. When someone's identity becomes stolen or they have some type of credit fraud, it can take several years, up to 7 years, to repair their credit. During this time, it will become very difficult for this person financially. It'll be hard for them to apply for any type of loans, including home, student. So if you're a student, it might actually affect you very much so, because you have to cease your education for the time being. Car loans, so you won't be able to move around. So mobility is going to become very rough for you, just very hard to acquire. And obviously credit cards. So when you are dependent on a credit card to pay something of an emergency, like a broken tire or a dead battery or something like that, you won't be able to apply for the credit card, or you'll be able to apply, but but obviously not accepted. Companies as well, same as individuals, can become hacked. It can be devastating, obviously on a way larger scale, because within a company, not only the CEOs and are affected by it, but the general public is also affected by it. Stock market is affected by it. So anything that affects the stock market can be seen to affect basically the entire economy in a sense, even if it's just very small. Some companies that had a lot of trouble these past years, for example eBay, the most recent, had 145 million customers' identity stolen. So this included credit cards, account numbers, other type of personal information as well. Target, 70 million customers were basically were also affected by this at Target, to the point where the CEO had to resign due to a lot of conflicts going on with the whole basically investigation of this. Not only that, but Target's stock also dropped 16%. So this is an example of how it affects the stock market, basically causing a sort of butterfly effect. Adobe, 33 million users. AOL also actually got 120 million accounts stolen, which is a very big deal, because these accounts had, again, credit card information, etc. And one of the bigger ones in the past couple of years, has been PlayStation. Sony's PlayStation Network, it was hacked. The first day alone, they lost $170 million. The entire PlayStation Network had to be shut off for about a week, and 114 million users were affected. These users were affected literally. Their credit card was there, and they were vulnerable to any type of purchases that the hacker wanted to do. So just a quick fun fact, and just to sum it up, the population of the US is about 313 million. The total individuals documented as affected in the last slide alone were 462 million, if we did the math and added all of them up. So as we can see, that is a way larger number than the actual population of the US. It's almost, not I want to say twice as much, but it's 1.5 times as much as the population of the US. So this comes to show that not only people in the US are being affected, but people all around the world. This also comes to show that in the end, it's sort of like a ripple effect or a butterfly effect. It will affect one person, which will affect another one, and etc. So hacking is not just hacking one single person, but it actually is an act that affects many others as repercussion. So now I will let my teammate continue letting you know about the history of hacking. Thank you very much.
Now, I'm going to talk a little about some well-known cyber attacks. These attacks I will be speaking about are some of the biggest and most costly hacks known to date. Citigroup was hacked in the year of 2011. As a result of this attack on Citigroup, they suffered a loss of about $2.7 million. This money was actually stolen from their customers' credit card accounts. The money was stolen from about 3,400 accounts. Although the hackers stole from 3,400 accounts, they actually accessed about 360,083 accounts. As a result of this attack, Citigroup had to issue more than 200,000 new credit cards. These hackers infiltrated Citigroup systems by exploiting a security hole in their website. This security hole allowed them to jump from account to account by just changing the numbers in the URL. The Sony PlayStation Network was hacked in April of 2011. The personal info of more than 100 million users, as well as their credit card information, was stolen. The attack was disguised as a purchase so that it would not be flagged by any of the security systems. One of the most famous cyber attacks is Titan Rain. Titan Rain is the designation given to a series of coordinated attacks on American computer systems since 2003. The attacks are believed to be executed by cells of operatives on behalf of the Chinese government. These attacks have infiltrated our US military security companies like Lockheed Martin and even NASA. In 2003, we had an estimated total of about 54,000 intrusions. Just 1 year later, that number bumped up to about 79,000 intrusions. These cyber attacks have made it more important for the Pentagon to adopt new detection software and improve training of computer security specialists.
In conclusion, we were able to speak about the history of hacking. We were able to cover these few topics throughout our discussion and touch on them and their importance. First of all, we gave a great speech on the importance of the history of hacking, the milestones that were faced in the history, as well as the different types of attacks that we encountered throughout our research in history, and the impact that it's had on society, as well as us as students, and just being knowledgeable of all the different types of hacks that have been out there and what has been done and how they've elevated over time, as well as the infamous cyber attacks, which have touched upon most of us because of how generalized they have been and how hugely impacted they have been throughout the world. Thank you again